Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we discuss the issues of the underdeveloped communities and how we can solve them and bring them up to key. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Michael Jones. Michael L. Jones II is a Bronx native, raised in the Bronx River Housing Projects as the eldest of 5 sisters and 3 brothers. He was brought up by a single mother until the age of 8 when she reunited with an old flame, leading to a new chapter in their family life. Michael's educational journey took him through the NYC public school system and later to New York Institute of Technology, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Architecture. For 17 years, he worked in various New York City firms, specializing in healthcare design. However, feeling unfulfilled in his career, Michael made a pivotal decision at the age of 50 to pursue only what brought him joy and purpose. At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, he left his architectural career and rediscovered his passion for writing. This led to the creation of his play, Boy in the Window, which is loosely based on his life experiences and was showcased in the New York Theater Festival. He writes under the pseudonym Jones Price Daniels. Michael's journey includes marching with and teaching the World Championship Junior Drum and Bowl Corps, the Garfield Cadets, where there were few in the activity that looked like him from ages 16 to 21. This experience opened his eyes to the biases that exist in white culture, shaping his understanding of race and identity in ways not discussed in his household. During the pandemic, he also found a platform on TikTok where he shares his thoughts on various social issues, including LGBTQ rights, politics, addiction, and African American experiences. With a growing following, Michael emphasizes, I am just a man with an opinion based on my life experience. I don't claim to be an expert. Currently, he owns and operates Jones Price Daniels Architectural Services, LLC, where he provides architectural services on his own terms. Additionally, Michael teaches marching percussion in the NYC public school system, finding joy and using drumming as a tool to impart life principles to young people. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Jones. Welcome to the show, sir. Oh, you're on, I guess you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great. I've been looking forward to this since we started speaking. So happy to be here. Happy you found me, and excited to see what comes up in this conversation.
Well, I will tell you, I'm definitely excited, and I know the audience is excited because I'm sure there are several things that you're going to bring to light that not only are going to be thought-provoking, but also it's going to help a lot of us to get through tonight's wonderful debate.
I know. How's that funny that we did this on the night of the debate?
So, is there anything you'd like to add to your bio other than what I read?
No, that was pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I'm currently teaching part-time. I'm also putting my play on for Black History Month. So that's where I'm going to be kind of focusing my energies and attention for the next 4 months. But yeah.
Well, I tell you, I'm wonderful that to have you as a creator here, and also as one of those large, independent thinking individual Black men that are able to not only make decisions but be able to actually weave your way through this whole entire crazy process that we have to deal with.
Yeah, it is crazy.
So, well, let's just hop right into this. Can you tell us what inspired you to start your first business?
Well, basically, my first business was my production company that I started when I started writing the play. I formed a production company, but The architectural side, as you stated, I've been doing architecture for over 18, 17 years. I was in the field, and I just got to a place where I didn't want to do anything that didn't fulfill me or make me happy anymore. And I left the field, but I still have a passion for it. You know, the design aspect. I'm a creative person, I'm an artist, and architecture didn't provide all of the areas. You know, there was some creative aspect to it. And that's the part I loved. I love designing, and decided with a partner that we were going to form a business. So I offer services. I'm currently designing a house for a gentleman up in Woodstock, New York. And I'm doing it on my terms now. You know, I don't have to go to a job 9 to 5 and worry about all of the bureaucracy and the co-workers. I'm doing it myself now.
So let me ask you this: do you think working at a firm that that maybe had the wrong kind of structure and the way that it was built and featured, do you think that's what caused you to actually decide to move out on your own?
Well, I'll tell you what actually this made me make the decision. You know, there are requirements when you're hired for the position. You have to have a college degree. So I met those credentials and pretty much worked my way up to a senior level in the office. And then suddenly they wanted to hire somebody with a high school diploma who had no experience in the field. And then to add insult to injury, wanted to make him my supervisor. So I
Oh,
just, at that point, I was like, you know, how many ways can you tell me you don't appreciate what I've done? You know, and I don't have to be here. And literally, I don't recommend this to anybody, but I literally one morning I was sitting at my desk. I left my keys on the desk, got up and walked out and never looked back.
you know, let me tell you. So let me just say something about that, because that is something that I can tell you point blank without a doubt. It was 2018, and I am an investigator with the United States Department of Labor, the federal government, where the bureaucracy is about as bad as it can fucking get.
Yeah.
Okay. One day, it was a Wednesday morning. I woke up. I had two cases where I had two meetings set up. That morning, not a word of a lie, something just reached down into my head and asked me, why was I doing this job?
Yeah.
So after that first cup of coffee, and I'm like, okay, now this is new. But I mean, but it's like it's turned on my mind, and I'm just thinking, like, okay, maybe it's something to this. So I get me a second cup of coffee. While I'm drinking that second cup of coffee, I said, the hell with this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
packed up all their little stuff in that little ugly little black bag that they gave us. That's computers, printers, everything else. Rolled that crap in, gave them their credit card, gave them their credentials, and told them, I am done as of this day. I sent the email to everybody, printed out a copy for myself, gave the director a copy, and told him, this is my last day. I'm out of here. Here's all your stuff. Process me out, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
He goes, do you need some leave? No, sir. I'm not, I do not need leave. Because now you know that I'm ready to leave. If I actually did that, you're gonna fire me.
Right.
So
Right.
I was gone.
Yeah.
But, but you know, I know so many people that get to the point now, as of we rolled into the first part of this 21st century,
Yeah.
that you know, we have the highly educated black people that are in positions, you know, where they should be in line to be in leadership. But I don't know your situation, but I'm just speaking to
Right.
this.
Right.
I know that there are too many times that they bring in these high school educated white folk that they want to bring in and say, this is, you got to train your supervisor how to boss to you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Yeah.
That's stupid.
That's crazy. And in my situation too, I found that a lot of the bosses, first of all, they were a lot younger than me, number one, but
Uh,
they always wanted the kind of lower level people to make the big decisions, you know? And I'm like, you make the six figures, you make the six-figure decisions. Don't let, you know, everybody is afraid to make a decision because nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody, and it just got to be too much. I was like, no, I don't need this anymore. So
I don't blame you. And you know something? Apparently, you made the right decision, because look, you're doing a whole lot better outside of that crap.
Well, listen, it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been, but my thing is I haven't eaten every day, but my dog has eaten every single day. So, so I'm proud of that, you know.
So, how did you identify the market gap that your business aimed to fill?
You mean what I'm currently doing architecturally?
Well, when you started the business, how did
Well,
you identify that market that your business need to fill the
sure.
need?
Sure. Well, I started out first doing what they call expediting, which is here in New York City, we have a New York City building department, and every new project gets filed with the building department. Well, you have to be licensed to do that filing. So I got the license and I started doing that. But then I would talk to people who needed plans drawn of their homes that, sometimes they have old homes, plans don't exist. So I would go in, measure the whole house, draw out floor plans, the elevations, and that kind of is a niche. There's a niche for that. Um, Also, I most of my career I did healthcare design,
Mhm.
and now I'm getting the opportunity to do residential, which is amazing, because that just opens up the creativity for me in big ways.
Well, I'm proud of you for one thing. Well, not one thing,
Just
but this
one thing.
particular, yeah, but this particular thing, I'm really proud of you for one thing, and that is this thing that I'm proud of now is how you're able to now just loosely use your mind that more benefits yourself to create
Yeah.
and to make things look the way people want them to look without somebody trying to browbeat you and have you do a million things where architecture itself is so tough
Sure.
that I'm sure that if you miss any kind of cuts, angles, or corners, that there's a problem, right?
That was always my biggest fear in this field is, we're talking about buildings that have to stand and support people and equipment. That was always my biggest fear. But I tell you, in terms of getting to that place where I could say enough is enough, that took time. That was an evolution because I looked at other people and I said, I don't have that. Personally, I don't have that spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit, that hustling spirit. But oddly enough, I do have it. You develop it and you just learn some things as we age, you learn some things. So,
Yes, sir. So, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your entrepreneurial journey?
uh, well, see, this architectural project I've only started in the last 3 years. Just getting the clients, getting the word out that hey, this is what I'm doing. I have the networks of the people and the contractors that I worked with in the past. Um, I have a website, so it's just that is just getting the word out. Hey, this guy is doing this niche thing, and it could be beneficial to you. My partner provides the financing for the most part. I actually have he's kind of famous. His name is Ralph Roll, and I'm giving him a little plug, but he he actually was my drum instructor when I was a kid, and he currently plays with the group Chic. I don't know if you remember the group Chic.
Of course, I do. Now, Roger.
Yeah, Nile Rodgers. So he plays with them. He's kind of the financial backing side of the business, so that helps a lot, a lot.
Oh wow. What motivated you to pursue a career in education?
I wasn't pursuing education, so to speak. I don't teach in the classroom all day. I teach a portion of their program. It's their after school program. So I go in for 2.5 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I teach drumming. These kids, and I teach in the middle school. So I was raised to be strict authoritarian, pretty much. So these kids scare me. I wasn't sure that I could be in the classroom with them 8 hours a day. I could take them 3 hours a day. But I've kind of always taught scholastically. I've taught high school, I've taught college, and but never not in there. I'm not a certified teacher. I would be like an adjunct or a
Right.
substitute teacher. Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, when you say middle school, that's when the hormones are raging for those kids, so they could be a little tough. Anyway.
I love them. I love them, but they are particularly the boys. The boys are so crazy. They're always grabbing on each other, wrestling and throwing and hurting. But and I try to think back, what was I doing that when but I love it. I love it. I love it.
Um, how do you integrate your entrepreneurial experiences into your teaching?
Um, well, I try to teach the kids to think, first of all, to think before they act. I try to teach them to try to think in sequence. Okay, if you do A, B is going to happen, and then C is going, because they're doing these crazy things and they're not thinking about the end point. So I bring that in. I bring the concept of doing your best, not giving up, um, just pursuing whatever it is that the goal is. I try to impart that to them, that it's not about competing against somebody else. It's about competing against yourself and making yourself as good as you can. There's different things like that I've kind of learned along the way. Very important. When I first started teaching years ago, I um I was of the mindset that I have the information. If you just do what I say, you'll be fine. And then somebody said something to me one day that changed my life, which was they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And that I carry that with me everywhere. So they don't care that I'm a drummer for 20 years. They want to know, do we have a connection? Do you see me? Do you hear me? They want to know that kind of stuff. So
Wow. So, what teaching methods do you find most effective in engaging students?
beating them up. No, well, I go in. I teach drumming, so there's a process. Um, but we start. I mean, when I get these kids, they have no experience. They've never even held a drumstick, so we're starting from step zero, and it's just a build up. There's things that you have to do if you want to be a drummer, and that's what we do. And I don't say these are kids, so I don't want to do that because this is too hard for them. I mean, obviously there's class A, class B, but in terms of my approach, it's the same as if I was teaching a college class or teaching a high school class. These middle school kids, I literally beat them up because they have to be physically strong to play. Um, that's it. There's really no difference. Other than maybe their concentration. They can't focus for long periods of time. So we take a little more breaks, but the technique and the method is the same.
How do you stay updated with the latest trends and developments in your field?
In architecture,
That is with the education part.
with the education part, well, when I get them in September, it starts to kind of count down to, we do a lot of performances over time, and it culminates at the end. So I have songs in my head that I want to do with them. Sometimes the principal will bring me something, a suggestion, because we basically play beats.
Mhm.
We play beats to different songs. So I'm constantly listening. I listen to a lot of the new stuff. I listen to a lot of the old stuff too, which I think is a lot better than this new crap that they're producing. But yeah, I just try to stay, and I live in New York, which is the cultural, one of the cultural meccas. I know you're in Atlanta, but culture is everywhere. It's everywhere, and we have Africans, we have Dominicans. It's such a mixed, diverse culture that you could pull from everywhere. The school that I teach in happens to be, it's in East Harlem, which is called Spanish Harlem.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of Spanish heritage there, a lot of Spanish culture. And in the past 2 years, we've had this influx of, the immigrant students coming in. So I have a lot of students that don't speak English necessarily, but music is a,
Yes.
universal language.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's how I stay current.
Okay. So, can you share a memorable teaching moment that had a significant impact on you?
A significant teaching moment. Oh, wow. I'd have to think about that. A significant teaching moment. Well, I'll tell you this. The sign that I'm doing my job and that I'm teaching these kids. One day we had been we're working on a piece, and I had to have surgery. And they had this surprise visit from the school's chancellor. They had to do a performance, but I wasn't able to be there because I had to have surgery. So we rehearsed leading up to it, and I got the kids prepared. But these little fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth graders had to do it by themselves, and they did it. And so that was a sign to me that what I'm doing is working. They understand what needs to be done, and they understand the process. I was so proud of them. I was proud of me too, but I was proud of them. So yeah, that might be one.
Oh wow. That's definitely impactful because apparently the skills and the things that you taught them prior to, they were able to execute that without you being there.
Absolutely. That's always a true sign. Yeah.
So how do you stay motivated during tough times in business? Now we'll talk about the architectural thing.
How do I stay motivated? Uh I am thank God I'm kind of multi-diverse talented. So if some area is slowing down, I have another, I can go to writing my play. I can work on music for the play. So I try to keep myself rounded in these three areas that I am engaged in. Um, but I don't know what that is.
Okay. I can't hear you.
I I I keep getting this weird background sound. Something's playing in the background. But anyway, I'm sorry. What was your question?
Um, how do you stay motivated during tough times in business?
Um, it's usually if I'm working on a project, I have to produce drawings for the project. So the drawings usually keep me busy during downtimes. Um, and it happens in architecture. The architecture is really kind of very aligned to whatever's going on financially with the stock market. For example, in 2008, when that whole financial disaster happened, it affected building. Building stopped, it halted. So you go through these ebbs and flows in the field, and you just have to, there have been times where I left the field to go teach music until things started to pick up, and then you get right back in. So try to fill the time with things that I love to do.
Okay. Can you share a pivotal moment that significantly impact your business growth?
That impacted my business growth. Well, I recently, and this is not about architecture. This is more on the production side. But I recently had a conversation a couple days ago with a gentleman who is going to help me with financing for my production for the play. His name is Angelo Ellaby. He's actually in entertainment. Um, and that has been really one of the areas where that has slowed me down. In the arts, it's hard to find money and raise money. So I had a conversation with him the other day, and he said he can get me financing. So yeah, that's kind of where it is right now. We're looking to put the production out in February for Black History Month.
So tell us about the production. I mean, like, what is it? What is the premise of the story? What's the story about?
So in one word, it's redemption. But it's about a gentleman. His name is Andre. He's the main character. He suffered some sexual trauma when he was young. Okay, that's me. But he suffered some sexual trauma when he was young, and his way of dealing with the emotional trauma was to detach himself from that. So in the play, I create a character. That detachment becomes a character, and the play is generally it goes along his life up to about he's 40, and just the different challenges that he's had. He's also part of the LGBTQ. He's gay, and he's fighting with that throughout his life as to is he gay because of this thing that happened to him, or what came first, the chicken or the egg? Yeah, and so that's kind of been my struggle in life. Um, so he deals with that throughout the storyline, and there's some magical stuff, there's some fantasy stuff that happens in there. It takes place where I grew up, which is in the projects. Um, and he basically goes out on, he gets involved with drugs. I didn't get involved with drugs, but he gets involved with drugs. He meets some bad people along his life. He's just trying to find his way, and eventually he moves to California, which I did, trying to escape, but eventually has to come back and return to himself, and that's the redemptive part. He's angry with God, he's mad at God, and he's putting it all back together so he can get forward in his life. That's the general premise of the play.
Oh wow! Now, you know what? That sounds like a really good production. Is that only in New York, or will it go to other places?
I want to travel it. I want to move it around. I'm kind of following Tyler Perry's model early on when he wrote those plays and he took them around to the different cities. I'm not looking to get. I don't want to. I'm not looking to get these agents, and I'm not trying to do it that way. I want to do it not myself, but I want to keep most of the control, the money, all of that within the Black arena. I'm so sick of you write a play and then Mr. Hirsch gets it and then that's it. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that.
No. There's I applaud you for that because there are a lot of people that want to get into the arts in the same form in many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that one thing that you brought up is always so key is they wound up losing control because the financing part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you're using somebody else's money, a lot of times they normally like make these really big demands because they've got to be in control and they got to change your whole story.
Yeah. And I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. So.
Yeah, I don't think you should because that story sounds really interesting and intriguing. How do you approach innovation within your business ventures?
Hi, this is happening again. Hold on. I'm so sorry, Charles. I don't know where this music is playing from in the background. Can you hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm sorry. Your question was, how do I approach innovation?
Yeah,
I read a lot.
Mhm.
There are a lot of architectural periodicals, magazines. I'm online a lot because I'm choosing different materials. There are a lot of new materials on the market. This green thing is a thing in architecture, trying to be as energy efficient as possible. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff online. There's a lot of magazines, conversation. They have seminars for architects. So that keeps me kind of in the loop. Yeah.
So, what role does networking play in your success as an entrepreneur?
It's a big part. Networking is a major part. Um, and actually, my partner Ralph, he kind of handles the net. He has a larger pool of people that he's in contact with, but networking is very important. Obviously, uh, as I say, we have a website. Um, and then just going to different events and meeting people, shaking hands. I'm not crazy about that part. I'm not a shy person, but um, that's just not my strength. So I leave that to someone else to do that part. Except for in the play. Now I could talk to you about the play all night, all week, all day. But the architectural side, my partner kind of takes care of that.
So, tell if you don't mind, if you can shoot some nuggets out to our audience for those that are watching, for those that want to be as innovative as yourself when going into the arts. What are some of the things that you recommend that they do?
Not to be afraid, not to allow money to be the hindrance for not moving forward at all. To believe in yourself. And this was very important the other night when I spoke to Angel, because I have been going back and forth battling with, I want to direct this play, but I've always been told writers don't direct their own material. And I see the pros and the cons for that. But with this play, I have such a vision of what it should look like, smell like, what it should sound like. And I've been going back and forth. And finally he said, fuck it. I'm saying fuck because you said it earlier. But he said, do it yourself. You know what it's supposed to be. So I would say not to be afraid, to believe in yourself, even if you haven't done it before. If you have an inkling inside or a voice that's saying yes, then follow that. Raise money. There's a lot of here in New York, there's a lot of grants for the arts. They're not easy to get, but there's a lot of grants. And just stay true. Stay true to yourself, and don't forget the people that put you in that position. I see that a lot. People use the community, for example, the Black community, and once they get off and running, then all of a sudden they forget. So don't forget your roots, don't forget your people. That would be it. That would be it.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that's some wonderful advice because, you know, I think back to when I originally launched this podcast in 2020, and it wasn't getting any traction, but I was helped because COVID came along.
Okay, right. Everybody was home.
Exactly. And so it wasn't getting any traction. So I decided to stop and I had to go back to the drawing board. And I will tell you, I'm one of those that strongly believe and feel like if I want to do it, then it's supposed to happen.
Right.
And so I came up with a new innovative idea, and really pinpointed everything to the actual market that I was searching for, and decided everything about this podcast is going to be about what's going on, what's developing in our communities, because we need to know, like right now, like it was yesterday. We need to know right now what we need to be doing and how we need to be doing it. And it's been really great, and it's been really growing ever since. I relaunched in the fall of 2022, and I can say nothing but good things. But I need to make sure that it gets better and it
Right.
continues to grow. And we just keep good people like yourself that's come here to let people know, hey, this is about the community. Let's do it.
Right. And you just made a great point, which is be the change that you want to see. I hear it on TV, I think, Reverend Al. But be the change that you want to see. Oh, there's not enough. They don't sell this in the neighborhood. Then be that change, like you said.
Yes. How do you foster a positive learning environment in your classroom?
A positive learning. I have to be positive first and foremost. If I'm not positive, it just bleeds down. So I have to be positive and in a good place. I'm not always in the greatest mood, But we have fun. I try to make it fun for them. In addition to the fact that we are working hard, there has to be fun. Like I said, we take breaks. They run around with the basketball. They get 15, 10 minutes to do that. We talk. If they're having issues in the classroom, bullying or what have you, we'll have a little sit down and talk about that. I'm just trying. It's a major responsibility, and then trusting that I have these kids that I'm molding. I'm molding them, and I'm just trying to get them ready for the world. I tell them all the time, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I don't care that you're 8 years old. Nobody cares. But that's the real. That's the real. I mean, you got 14-year-olds coming into schools, shooting up schools now. Nobody cares. So they're not too young.
What has your interactions been like with the parents?
Very good, and the parents are very supportive, which I'm happy. Because they see progress. If it was, they didn't see anything, and I could, but no, they see the progress. They see that their kids enjoy it, and they're very supportive.
Wow, that's really wonderful. That's good to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for students who aspire to become entrepreneurs?
Students who aspire to become entrepreneurs, that it's okay to fail. And fail is not failing. Fail is just an opportunity to rethink, relook, maybe redirect. But failure is a good thing. And I think, we all want 10,000 followers today. We all want that platinum record today. And you have to work. You have to work. You don't get anything right away. It's discouraging sometimes, but failure is not failure. Failure is just an opportunity to relook, make stronger, and then keep it moving, keep going, because we give up. Myself included. I've given up in the past too, and missed some opportunities. So don't give up, because sometimes you could be very, 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 very close and you can't see over that line and you gave up, and so don't give up.
You never know. I will tell you this, and this may be surprising for a lot of folks, for those that know me. When I did my relaunch of the show, I'm not gonna say that I was ever pessimistic, but I had got to the point that I was actually a little bit afraid, of what the reception was going to be like when, vetting and talking to people that would be potential guests on the show.
Right.
And so it came out actually pretty well, but it got a whole lot better because I figured, and I'm just being honest about it. I thought that when things did not take off before, I was just kind of like, is this really gonna work? And so I will say there was a little bit of fear, but to get over that fear, I just had to do it, and I just had to make it work. And so blessings at this point. And so that's some really good advice, though, that you would give to those students, though, because I think, again, that's something that, especially for students of our communities, need to know that you should not be fearing a lot of things and just doing what you know that you like to do.
Yeah. Fear is major. I mean, it's funny. There's a song we sing in church that says one step. All I have to do is take one step and he'll do the rest. So sometimes it's just taking that first step, and then things kind of magically come. It's really weird the way things happen. But you find that director, or you find that merchandise, or whatever it is. But sometimes it's just taking that first step.
So how do you balance risk and reward when making business decisions?
How do I manage risk and reward?
Yes. How
You
do
know,
you balance?
I one of the things that I've learned about myself is that I'm very practical. So I try to make decisions from a practical. I'm a feeler. I'm a feeling person. I usually make a lot of my decisions or have in the past based on how I feel. Um, that doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to be practical and you have to say, okay, if I'm designing this house for this person and I know that this house is going to cost $8 million to build, but they only want to pay 300,000. I lost my track, but risk. Everything's a risk. Everything is a risk. It's just a matter of how much am I willing to sacrifice. Like if I'm going into a situation that I know is risky, then I'm not going to play all my cards. I'm only going to play a portion of that that's set aside for risk. Um, I try to be in front of anything that can go wrong, but you can't plan everything. You know, on architectural jobs, sometimes we draw a wall in a certain place, and when you really build it in the field, there's a pipe there or there's some sort of hole in the wall. You know, so you have to be ready to um to revise. You have to be quick on your feet in terms of revisions, in terms of having alternate plans. I don't know if I answered your question about risk because I know that was the biggest word there. But everything to me, you know, whenever you're doing anything that is stretching yourself, it's a risk. Risk. So I just try to be as practical about it as possible.
So, do you think practicality is your way of being conservative, or is it just wanting to just take that time to build?
Well, for me, because most of the stones on the scale are on the emotional side. So for me, practicality balances that out. For somebody else, it might be just the opposite. You know, I am a risk taker. I am the one that'll jump out there without thinking. I'm a very impulsive person sometimes. So for me, balance is being practical, being to think about things. Whereas for somebody else, it might be the opposite. You know, somebody might be so practical that they have to get into a habit of taking risks and just moving without thinking. So it depends. It depends.
So you're not a gambler.
I don't like gambling. No, I've gambled, but I've gambled. I've gambled with my life, but I've never been the one to go to the casino putting all my money in the slot machine. No, I that never made sense to me.
It don't make sense.
No
It don't.
shade to those of us. My mother loved the casino. Hold on. Just give me a minute. My mother loved the casino. She would be in the she lives in North Carolina now, but if she was here, she would be in that casino at least twice a month. And I just never it just never made sense to me. Plus I don't win, so I'm tired of going, you know.
So, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Hmm. Know your niche, know your field, know what it is that you want to do. Know that you don't have to have it all figured out prior to starting because you figure it out sometimes as you're moving along. So you don't have to have it all figured out. Um, Make sure that you love it. Make sure that you're very passionate about it, that you go to sleep, you think about it, you wake up thinking about it, because it makes no sense to be in architecture for 18 years and absolutely hate working in that field. So make sure it's what you love. Make sure that it's offering a service to others too. That's the main thing too, is, you know, we get so selfish in that we got to have it all and we got to do it. No, it should, God blesses us so that we can bless others. So I think that's the main thing.
Can you tell us, how do you measure success in your role as an educator?
Well, results, obviously, results are the main factor. If my kids, at the end of the year when we have our performance, if they can't play through a song, then I know on some level I wasn't successful. It always comes back to the teacher, which I hate that, but it's true. Um, yeah, and I set goals for them along the school year. So are we meeting those goals? A kid that couldn't drum in September, can they at least play something in February? So we set goals and results. We measure the results.
So, what are some common misconceptions about entrepreneurship that you address in your classes?
Misconceptions about entrepreneurship that I address in my classes. Well, they're kind of separate, but you mean in terms of principles? Uh, just the tenacity and the stick-to-itiveness, and you don't. Okay, for me, enjoy the journey as much as getting to the destination. I'm the person that gets to the destination and then I'm off to the other race. And I
You want
didn't
a career in
hold on.
cybersecurity. Programs.
Where this sound was coming from. It's in the background. But I tend to miss the journey, the roses along the way to the destination. So if it's anything for me, that's been a big lesson, is the journey is as much a part of it as meeting the goal.
Okay.
Did I
And
answer
how
the question, Charles? Did I answer the question? I apologize for this. I can't see where it's coming from. But I was asking you, did I answer your question?
Well, you did to some extent, but we're actually going to, there's going to be another way that I'm actually going to intertwine this in another way,
Okay.
to actually bring that part home. Because, I think, in that explanation, what it tells us is that, how some people can take entrepreneurship but this way, and some people actually take it this way. So in other words, there's that left to right thing. So what happens is, where with a lot of people, they're thinking that, oh, it's easy to go and be an entrepreneur, to incorporate a business and do it. So these people over here might not see it that way because they don't even know how to get started. So
Okay.
basically, what happens is they both have a commonality,
Right.
is that they're missing the foundation. So basically, it's about that foundation that if it's solid, you can put anything in the world here. If that foundation is not solid, then you're not going to make it. So in other
Right.
words, so like I say, those people that say it's easy, when people listen to that, the misconception is, oh, well, I'm just going to do this, but you don't even have the right mindset to even go and start this business. So it's not saying that you can't,
Mhm.
but if you're going to do it, you need to be in the right frame of mind,
Right.
because your mind needs to be pointed, it needs to be clear, it needs to be concise.
Right.
Because once you go into it, you're going to start having some of everything going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
so,
mean,
go ahead. I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, because I love that explanation, but there's some other parts that, like I said, we're going to come back. We're going to tie that in because the points that you made were really great.
Okay. I Yeah, like I said, vision is everything. But there's the practical thing. Did you register your business? Did you actually form a business? What kind of business do you want to have? Do you want a not-for-profit? Do you want an LLC? Do you want a corporation? You have to figure all that stuff out. And if you're like me, who just upped and quit one day, are you practically prepared to support yourself for a period of time while you devote your attention to this other thing that you're birthing and you're building? So there's the practicality of it. Can you pay your rent? Are you gonna, can you pay your car note? Do you have to sell your car? Different things like that. Everything is about sacrificing, and sometimes we have to give in order to, sometimes we have to get rid of and let go in order to get to where we're going. So, yeah.
Yep. Just like you said, though, the one thing I would not recommend that people do is I think I was overconfident. When I say I was overconfident, it's not like it was the worst thing in the world, because I actually funded my own business when I started, right?
Wow.
But on top of that, this is the thing we say, you have to be careful about some things that you do, because it's about the mental. I also went out and bought a brand new car that same day that I quit.
Mm-hmm.
So I stacked more debt than I was
Right.
gonna have.
Right. Right. I might have done the same thing, Charles. Don't feel bad. You
So
know, when I
I'm
left my
laughing.
job, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
I'm saying, it was, I'm laughing about that now, but that was actually serious, because I didn't think about what I was stacking on top of this, because now I had a whole bunch of other stuff, right? And so
Yeah.
now I'm like looking at all of this. I
Mm-hmm.
got this whole big old bubble here, and that bubble got so much stuff in it. It's
Yeah.
like I can't let that bubble explode.
Right. Right. Right.
So, it's like this is either sink or swim.
Yeah. And that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Sink or swim. And a lot of people surprise themselves and realize that they are swimmers, or at least floaters. You know what I
right.
say? And that's that fear part that you have to overcome. But you don't know until you jump off the cliff, really.
That's true. That's 500% correct. How do you balance your responsibilities as an educator and an entrepreneur?
Well, I do teaching 8 hours a week. Well, it's going to change. And the other hours are devoted to my business. So I teach 4 days a week for 2 hours, and the other hours, either on the upper end or the bottom end, are devoted to the business. So that's how I do it. And I'm very good at, I wouldn't call it multitasking, because I'm a horrible multitasker, but I like multiple different things to be doing. I like to go roller skating and then be in the movie theater. I like that. So I like having that ability to dance around to these different things. There's only
So,
three.
is that would you consider that time management?
It's time management in that, yes, I have a certain amount of time allotted towards teaching, and then I have to allot a certain amount of time to my business and production, because a large part of what I do in the business is produce. I'm designing, and I'm also producing the drawings to give to the contractors. So there's deadlines involved, there's cost analysis involved, there's pricing. There's a lot of stuff that I have to deal with. Also, the consultants, like, I don't do the structural work. I don't.
Driving the Nissan Rogue
Hold
with
on.
Google built in.
So I'm going to shoot this computer. There's a lot of coordination involved in what I do, because we have electrical designers, we have mechanical designers. So I have to manage that time, in other words. And it's not easy. It's not always easy. Sometimes I'm up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I have to meet a deadline, you know. So, and I'm not
So,
young.
how has your entrepreneurial journey shaped your personal growth?
I have to say, for me, it's the other way around. My personal growth has shaped my entrepreneurial because I'm me personally, I'm into a lot of self help, a lot of self growth, therapy, that kind of stuff. And in the past 2 years, I've done a lot of introspective work. And the better I get to know myself, that shows up on the outside. The better that I'm more relaxed with being vulnerable, with accepting certain strengths and qualities, because that was always a big thing for me, is that I always kind of hid my talents kind of under a chair. Now I don't have a problem with letting everybody see it and being confident and comfortable with that, and it being okay. So yeah, that would be my response to that.
Okay.
For me, it happened in the reverse. The more I grow, that shows up in my business, my interactions, my relationships. So,
Before we get to my favorite part of my part, I call it a segment of what we're going to do. I want to stray away for just a second and I want to play a game with you. I'm going to ask you some
okay.
words. I'm going to give you some words, and I want to know the very first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh boy. I hope the music doesn't play, but okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Pessimistic.
Trusting.
Art.
You said art,
Art.
expression,
Love.
intimacy,
Money.
freedom,
Teach.
learn,
Build.
demolish.
School.
School,
Uh huh.
community,
Client.
pain in my ass. No, that was more than one word. No, client, I would say opportunity. Opportunity.
Emotion.
Strength. Strength.
Run.
Run. I'd say escape.
People.
Connection.
Okay. So with those words in summation, I mean, where does that put you, or how do you actually see yourself in those words?
In those words, the one
Yes.
that stood out to me is always emotion. Is always emotion. I have always been perplexed. I have always had an issue, particularly in corporate settings, where these people will push you. They'll just push you right to the edge and then say, "Don't be emotional. You're being, you know," and it's like, but I have these emotions. How are you telling me not to use them if I have them? So that word always stands out to me because for me, um, I have had to learn how to either express them in a different way or just to understand what's going on with me emotionally. Like I said, I'm a feeler. So I tend to experience the world through what I feel about things. So it's just having a healthy balance. Um, Community, in that I'm involved in a 12-step program currently. Um, and one of the things that my sponsor says for me is that it's important to have connection. Um, and he says, "You got to make new friends. You got to make new friends." And I'm like, I have friends. I have friends that I have built over years. I don't just meet you and oh, you're my friend. No, that's not how it works for me. But I am finding that in connection to new people, new ideas, that does something for me as well. Those were the two words that kind of stood out to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And and so with this, and when I was asking those terms, I was looking at each of these terms as to just thinking about and some of the answers to some of the questions and so forth. How did they relate to the things that you're doing as to your actual entrepreneur journey and in your classroom? Because I'm sure that you see a lot of kids that are pessimistic, and you run across some of your clients that may be pessimistic in a lot of ways because they have trust issues, you know.
Right. Right.
And so, just as you go all the way down, the one word I will tell you that was surprising to me is that when I asked you about art, I was thinking that you were going to mention the term creative
Uh-huh.
because you seem so creative in all the things that you're doing and how you visualize and how you see things,
Right.
but then how you create.
Right. Right. What did I say? I don't remember what I said. Art. What did I
Uh,
say? Expression?
uh, I can't remember what it was that you said, but I know it wasn't creative though.
Wasn't creative. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is my favorite part here. So I want to tell the audience this before we get going. Is I saw you on TikTok,
Right.
and I just love the TikToks that you do. And it seems like each and every day for all the malarkey that's put out in main media, you have a way of making it a target. And I just love
Yeah.
the things that you say when you speak to the public in general. What got you into that point of your life?
TikTok or my commentary?
The TikTok commentary. What got you to doing that?
I discovered TikTok during the pandemic. Um and at first it was about dances, and then people were started posting some serious content. I posted some stuff. But then also Dickhead was running for office
Mm,
at the time. So
right.
that was the current events at the time. And for some reason, we New Yorkers knew that he was bullshit because we experienced him here. Um, and then I just started talking about stuff. And it's so funny because I had people say to me, "You used to be funny. You used to be so lighthearted. Now you're so serious." And I told them, "You're free to leave. You're free to leave." But I'm passionate about people's needs being serviced and nobody left out. And of course, we live in America in black and white, right? We live in America, so I'm not stupid, but I just can't deal with stupidity, and I have to talk about it sometimes. So that's how that kind of happened.
Well,
Um,
I want you to know you're doing the world a lot of service with that because I think anybody, no, and this is serious because I think anybody that looks at your TikToks, they're not atypical. But because they're not atypical does not mean that there's not a meaning there. There's an actual meaning there, even though I love your mantra, and that is how do you say it? Uh, you are not. Uh, I'm just a man with an opinion based on my experience. I don't claim to be an expert. I
right.
love the disclaimer.
Right, right. That lets me off the hook. That lets me off the hook because I tell you, sometimes I've gotten on there and I've made a fool of myself. I've given some misinformation or some wrong, or I said somebody's name wrong, and I had to remove the TikToks. So I try to be more careful about the information that I'm giving. Hold on. I try to be careful about the information. And yeah, I'm just talking as if we were in the bar or if we were sitting around the table talking. That's basically how it happens for me.
So, what inspired you to start sharing content on TikTok?
Well, when you record a TikTok, it automatically gets posted unless unless you save it to drafts. But yeah, I didn't take it seriously. I mean, I took it seriously, but I wasn't that person that needed 10,000 followers and 100 likes. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And keep it moving. And over time, I've built a following. You know, I have almost a little close to 9,000 followers. And that's not my goal to gain followers. People see my content, they like it, they follow, and I do the same. So, yeah, I enjoy it. It's creative. It's film. You know, if you're a film student, all of the editing part of it, I love that part. Um, it's just very creative. Plus, I get to yell at people.
Yes, but you do a good job. I'm just gonna tell you. I mean, I know some people when they go on TikTok, they all about mess. Okay, that's the stuff. I just ain't got no time for that. But see, like when you were saying some the things that you were saying, they were more than just eye catching. But
Yeah,
my ear was
yeah.
listening. And
Wow.
so it's just in that listening process, I'm
Right.
saying to the audience today that they need to actually listen to what you're saying on
That's fine.
TikTok.
That's a compliment. Thank you. Thank you. But like I said, it's just a conversation. I'm having a conversation with the camera. You know, like Candace Owens, are you serious? Like you're back again trying to freaking get that kind of thing is so stupid sometimes.
She just got banned today on another social media.
Good, good.
Yes, yes.
What a fool she is. But anyway,
How do you decide on topics you cover in your TikTok videos?
sometimes I see them. Sometimes I pull them right out of stuff that I've seen on TikTok. You know, everybody's content is going this way, that way, this way, that way. So, mine may go this way and reach another group of people. And of course, current events, or if I'm just sitting thinking, like, why do the Dominican people in my neighborhood play their music so loud? You know, stuff like that. You know, I'm thinking as I'm walking. I'm always thinking, and some things are funny. Some things are funny. Some things are serious. You know, but yeah, it's a myriad. Right now, it just happens to be a lot with politics or these dumb black men that think that Donald Trump is going to save their life. But
Oh,
that's another.
ooh, yeah, that's definitely another show. That's another show.
I know I must have just hurt somebody's feelings, but
I don't. You know what? Well, if their feelings are hurt, the hell with that, because they need
right.
to be more than hurt. They need to be stepped on. Everybody's entitled to their opinions or whatever have you, but there's no way you can sit there and tell me that this man is going to come to the aid of people that look like you and I.
I, I am so exhausted, Charles. I am so exhausted when I go on TikTok and I see some brothers that like I've watched their content and supported them, and it's like a total flip flop. And I just can't believe it. It's like, who are you? Like, what happened? What happened? You know, they were in the barbershop and they came out, and now all of a sudden everybody's a political expert.
Ooh,
Everybody's an expert.
Lord help them, Jesus, because they show need it. Um, what has been the most rewarding aspect of engaging with your audience on TikTok?
I'm not the type of person, I'm not that dude, and this drives me crazy. Somebody will post something really like insane or something really irrational, but they always have their people that are there agreeing. Oh yeah, you're right. I agree 100%. Thank you for saying that. And I'm like, no, that's stupid. Um, so I encourage opposition of thought. I don't block people just because they don't agree with me or see things my way. Um, But I do enjoy the comments sometimes. If somebody is saying something authentic, because I'm not looking for the pats on the back, and I'm not looking for I agree with you, brother. I agree with you, brother. No, what do you think? Like, what do you really think? And I've done some fundraisers, and sometimes my friends in the group in TikTok have donated, so that's been very rewarding. That's about it. That's about it.
So, how do you handle negative feedback or criticism on social media?
As long as they're not insulting me, personally, like, calling me whatever out of my name. If it's just a difference of opinion, it's a difference of opinion. We're not, I don't, it's not about right or wrong. And that's how this thing works. Unfortunately, right now, we have a group of people that are saying, I'm right, and another group saying, I'm right, So it's healthy to have opposition and different opinions. I'm not affected by that. If you insult me personally now, then that's different. That's different.
So, can you share a story of how your TikTok content has positively impacted someone's life?
I think that just in general, I won't necessarily refer to a specific, but I think that with me, there's a certain level of, like, I was always that dude in the church men's group that shared too much information. And in the hopes, like, I knew I was doing it, and I knew that it was risky, but I was doing it because I wanted to encourage people to be vulnerable, to open up. Like, this is a safe space, and what you say is not going to go no further than these walls. So that's how I kind of approach TikTok. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid. Some people say, "Oh, why are you telling that story and you share too much and blah 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 blah." I have my boundaries, but I try to be as authentic and as open as possible, because that makes it relatable. People say, "Oh yeah, that happened to me." "Oh yeah, I've been through that." "Oh yeah, I did a whole series last year on prostate, because I've been having some prostate issues, and I realized most of us as Black men don't really tend to those things. That's not something we think about. So it's sharing, it's educating, and saying to people, it's okay to talk about they stuck their finger in your ass. It's okay. You know, that kind of things. Because we don't talk. I just like to encourage dialogue and communication. That's it.
What strategies do you use to grow your following on TikTok?
I'm going to say this honestly. I have not been, I feel that part of TikTok is really not in my control. What's in my control is that I create content that speaks to people, that's relatable to people, and that's what draws the people in. I don't chase people. I don't chase followers. They follow me, they find me, they like me, and vice versa. So I don't spend time on that because I can't control that. I can only control what I do, which is create the content. That's it.
How do you stay authentic and true to yourself while creating content?
Well, like I said, I just try to be as honest as I can. I try to be careful that I'm not hurting anybody with my whatever delivery content. Um, and I just try to have fun. I just try to have fun. That's it.
What role does TikTok play in your overall career and personal brand?
I haven't really used TikTok as much. Like every once in a while, I may show my drum line, show one of my performances or something like that. But even with that, you got to be careful because of anonymity, and the kids. You can't really. I remember one time I was in rehearsal and I was recording them, and one of the students raised his hand and said, "You don't have permission to record me." Oh, angry. So funny. But I haven't necessarily used it as a business tool. It's just another tool that I use to as a creative outlet. I am going to use it more for the play once we start really ramping up.
How do you balance creating content for TikTok with your other professional responsibilities?
Most of the content that I create is very early in the morning. I get up around 5:30 and I go to the gym, and I'm usually in the gym until about 9. And when I'm coming home, I don't know if you noticed, there's this one area outside that I sit under the trees. And I usually
Yeah.
just make a beeline for there, and I watch some TikToks. And if I'm inspired to do one, that's the time so I do the TikToks usually early in the morning, or I'm standing here in the living room at my window. But it's usually in the morning. It's usually in the early day.
What future plans do you have for your TikTok platform?
You know something? I wish I cared more about the monetization of TikTok. That's an area that I haven't really like paid attention to or delved into. You hear these people, they make all this money, they're buying cars, and I wish I kind of was motivated to deal more with that. But I just want to continue to make content that speaks to people, that speaks about real issues and experiences that I've had. I did a series on crystal meth, because that was a big, and still is, here in New York. Excuse me. This is terrible. So I deal with a lot of social issues, Charles, that I think I deal with issues that people don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about.
So let me ask you for your opinion on this, and that is, when it comes to this election that's so major for people that look like you and I. What do you think are the pros and cons of this presidential election in general?
The pros and cons of when you say pros and cons, what do you mean?
What are the favorable things and what are the unfavorable things?
I'll say this, that we as a country have learned a lot about government and how government works since this bonehead has come into office. Nobody was talking about local elections. Nobody was talking about the Senate versus the Congress. So we've had this ongoing dialogue because stuff is constantly going on. So in that regard, I would say that we as a country have learned a lot. We've learned a lot about how far you can take court cases, this appeals process, and we've learned a lot about dragging it out. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot. So that I consider that a pro, even though it hasn't worked in our favor as a country. But it's like, wow, this man has dragged this case out to the point where they can't even try him because he's running for office, which is another thing. Um, Cons, just the division and the divisiveness of where people are. And I look at people, it's like being at a football game. Like, we're not rooting for a team here. These are real issues, and these are real people, and these are real consequences. It's not the Devils, versus the Blue Jays. Um, so I don't like that part of it. I also don't like the ignorance. And I have to say, even amongst black people, I have been so disappointed and so let down by the ignorance. But ignorance is ignorance. Ignorance is not bias. Anybody could be stupid,
Yes.
but that's the cons. Just the misinformation and people just regurgitating it without knowing. We are lazy. We are a very lazy people as
So,
Americans.
so why do you think these are supposedly quote unquote black men for Trump exist?
You know, I have my I mean, if we're talking about the entertainers,
Yes.
my opinion, and this is just my opinion, again, I am not an expert, but a lot of those, you know, a majority of those brothers came up through the streets. So you know that saying, you could take the man out of the projects, but you can't take the projects out of the man. They're just still street people with a lot of money and a lot of that thinking. To me, that's my opinion. Um, so I think that some of them are the criminal element. You know, they were the crack dealers and the drug dealers back in the 90s. Um, and I'm starting to understand that people really want to hold on to their money. And people are choosing Trump because of this tax plan. You know, they want to. I had a friend tell me that was his only reason for voting for Trump, is because he's getting ready to retire and he wants to hold on to as much of his money as possible. If that's possible with the Biden and Kamala campaign, I don't know, but that's the stupid reason. And I said to him, so you need that one thing, and all of these negative things are going to happen to these other people, and you're completely fine with that. I don't understand that.
Well, you know, now that's the one thing that's been a craw in this finger for God knows how long right now. And I mean, I don't care. No, let me say it the way I feel unequivocally. I can give less than a damn of what they're thinking about when they're talking about money,
Right.
because you're not in the 1%. If you're
Right.
not in the 1%, that does not include you.
Mhm.
You're still that little black boy
Mhm.
that they need to walk on and match.
Right.
So because you got these little pieces of pennies and you got people out there still supporting you that look
Right.
like me, that don't
Right.
realize that supporting you is against their interests.
Right.
But they still find a way to get these people to say, you need to listen to me. You need to vote for Donald Trump. Now,
Right.
when I say this, I'm talking about when you get some of these folks that are just as ill and just as nasty as they could want to be, like
Mhm.
Lil Wayne,
Mhm.
like Kanye West. That's just
Mhm.
name. And I said I was gonna wait till January and name each and every last one of them off in a roll call and do
Right.
them one show at a time,
Mhm.
because when Trump loses, I want people to still remember, stop
That these
supporting
people.
these
Right.
people. Stop supporting them,
Right.
because these people do not have your interests at heart. That even includes the athletes.
Mhm.
That includes the athletes. I don't give a damn how much money they got, how
Mhm.
much shine they got when you say you got some jerseys, or maybe you got lucky and got an autographed jersey. Because if you black, ain't many of you got one.
Right. Right.
And they turn around talking about they need to keep their money. Well, I need to keep mine too. So I
Right.
think people need to realize now it's time to break off that, because them people don't deserve your support. They
Right.
are the very ones that once Donald Trump lose, they're gonna come up with that same shit that you need to come and buy these $3,000 tickets to come and support them in a concert, when you going and you maxing out a credit card and you can't
Right.
even pay your rent, can't pay a light
Hello.
bill, thing. So if you're
Hello.
gonna call and say, can you pay my rent? No.
Right. The choir is going to come and sing now. No, but you know, I have to backtrack a little, because not all of us as black men are criminal element.
That's
Um,
true.
but I have to say that the amount of misinformation and disinformation, and it's not even the misinformation, it's that people hear it and then now they're saying it, and they don't even know if it's true, if it's false, where it comes from. You know, she locked up a whole bunch of brothers in when she was a cop. Stupid. She was not a cop. Yes. You know, she was not a cop. But you know, she locked up all those brothers. Oh, now she's Indian. The stupidity is just boggles my mind. It really does. You know, even so far as, and I know this is not a political commentary, but even understanding that, you know, a lot of the financial stuff that we're in now was fallout and leftover from Donald Trump. They don't understand that sometimes.
Oh my God.
Biden and Kamala messed up this and they did that. No, stupid. That was carryover. Biden is fixing a lot of that.
Obama had to do it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen. Now you get my TikTok spirit out. I should make this a TikTok.
Okay? Because let me just tell you something. This whole thing that they're doing, it just irks my whole soul. And it irks my soul because, as you mentioned about what happened prior to Biden and Harris getting in there,
right.
is that you got all of these folk that still are running around here saying that Biden and Harris are the ones that spent all the money.
Right.
I'm sitting here thinking like, you dumbass. See, these are uneducated folk that don't know how to read, don't know how to think for themselves. Right. Now, these are these entertainers and these athletes that's doing this because they ain't got a brain in the world. The only thing they say is, oh, I got all this money. So you think. You're not in the top 1%. So believe me, regardless of the case, you are going to get hit.
They're gonna find a way to take that money back. You know, Dr. Umar, I don't always agree with him, but he was talking about interracial marriages and how these black men, black athletes, black entertainment, but black whatever, marry these white women, and then something goes south. And then they get all Tiger Woods, for example. You know, you know, he's talking about keeping the money within our culture, but you wind up having to give it right back. You made all that money, now you got to give it back because you got to pay alimony or what have you. And I was going to say two things. You know, they're constantly talking about this Asian crime bill. We don't have a crime bill, stupid. We have the Civil Rights Act, you know. Or just craziness, Well,
see, when you talk about Tiger Woods, I want you to exclude him from the atypical folk that want to try to build our communities. He ain't never gave shit back to the black community because he's not considered as black. He says he's not black. Right. So why the hell are we supporting that?
I heard the other day he calls himself Calabasian or whatever that is. I don't even know what that is.
Whatever that is, he can go and put that under a rock and sit on it.
You know, I say in my TikToks, you know, at the end when the flood comes, there's going to be two ships. There's going to be one for the white people and there's going to be one for people of color. And all these crazy mixed up black folks that are not killing, but leading us down to the Byron Donalds and the Tim Scotts and the Candace Owens. And y'all better have your life vest because you're not getting on the black ship either. So you better have a life vest that is going to keep you afloat until whoever comes to get you because
and pick your ass up because we ain't picking you up.
No. How do you come back from that? But we're so forgiving and we're so loving and we're going to open arms and we'll take them right back. But I'm so sick of that. I'm sick of it.
And so, you know, there are several shows like this one that's doing this like now on a continuum every day now, that's asking this very same question as to what is going wrong with these supposed black people with these platforms that are like just running around here telling these lies. And everybody is trying to correct the lie, and you can't do anything else other than correct Donald Trump's lies. And they are all running down that same track, expecting that they're going to get that same treatment when they realize that's not going to happen. Then what happens? Right. Do people really still support that?
Right.
You gotta be crazy if you support that.
Yeah. I've thought
So
about running for office, but I would never. I would never.
you know
I
what?
would
If you did, believe me, we would
no.
have you on this show every week, making sure we prop that campaign up. Because I know that it's about the realness, and if you ain't real, then you can't do it.
Well, I think that there are. I mean, I don't think that what's her name? What is her name? Jasmine Crockett. She ain't playing no games. You know, she ain't going there to DC to play no games. I think there are a lot of people that are not there to play games, but I think it's just too much. I could never. I'd rather be in the trenches with everybody in the trenches than to do that.
So my final question for you for this wonderful show, because I mean we could do this forever.
We're done.
But well, I want to ask you. Tell me, what do you think about this debate tonight? It starts at 8 p.m. and that's in an hour and a half. What do you think is no, not an hour and a half? That's in 30
It
minutes.
starts at 9. It starts at 9, right?
I thought it was 8.
Okay, maybe. I thought it was 9. But what do I think? I tell you honestly, let me tell you something. COVID has affected this country mentally. And I think we're still trying to get out of that fog. Politics has been, that whole time that Donald Trump was in office, it was like a dark cloud that was hanging over this country, and I felt it physically. So for me, hold on. For me, I had to emotionally detach from whatever's going to happen tonight. I'm not like she's going to kick his ass or he's going to. I just want to see it as it unfolds. I'm not like emotionally connected to it right now. But we'll see. We'll see. I hope he's not disrespectful to her. I hope he doesn't do some of the tricks he did with Hillary Clinton. I hope she's on point. I hope that she's going to be clear with, people are saying she doesn't have any whatever the points are. She doesn't have a plan. So I hope she makes that clear. But I believe she's a smart woman. I really do. I really do. How tough she is, we'll see.
Well, I think we're about to see that shit that they said about Biden. You're about to see Trump go through that same thing because she's gonna swallow that ass. Believe me, she's gonna
You think?
swallow it.
You
And yeah,
think
she's gonna
so?
swallow it. She's gonna kick it all over the stage. And I want you to know that I want to make sure that I put up a wall so it can hit that wall and just burst into flames.
We still waiting for the wall, right? That Mexico was supposed to.
Okay. Look, they done stole all that money from them folks, talking some they contributing to a wall. And you got folks that done went to prison, still going to prison for all the millions of dollars that these idiots contributed to. Ain't got no damn wall yet.
Right.
And how illegal is that? Where you can somebody look like me say, I want to build 5 million Taco Bells, and I want to buy out the corporate office. So I need your contribution. You get them $5 million from that many folk, believe me, your ass going to prison.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see. I can't do another 4 years of him. That's for sure. That's true.
Well, look here. I want to thank you for blessing us with your presence and spending all of this time with us because it's really been wonderful.
Thank you.
And in that whole entire process, what I want to ask you, I hope that you will come back to the show, but we will talk a little bit off air where I'm doing an election special on November 5th, and I would love if you would get the opportunity to peek your head in and give us some commentary as we're doing that coverage.
I would love to. I also was hoping we would talk more about the LGBTQ AI issues, but another time.
Well, definitely look here. We'll talk off air. We'll get you rescheduled to come back on the show, and we'll definitely talk about that because that is is so many topics, and I don't
Yeah,
want to run you over time, but we'll definitely do another show.
cool. Thank you, Charles, for inviting me.
Well, I want to thank you for spending some time with us. I want to thank everybody that's watched the show. I'm sure that you all enjoyed. Oh, but one last thing, Mike, tell them how to actually follow you on TikTok and any other things that you want them to know what they can follow you or check you out at.
Okay. Well, on TikTok, I am my handle is XNPRUSOX, as in the letter X, N as in Nancy, PRUSO, XN Pruso. On Facebook, I'm listed as Jones Price Daniels. That's where I do a lot of my advertising for my play Boy in the Window. Or you could find me at Jones Price Daniels, Architectural Services, if you're looking for architectural services. So those are the three areas.
All righty. So y'all take that time, please follow Mike. Please, for those of you that have been watching on the YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notifications button. As you do that, you will get all notifications for all shows when they're about to appear. And all you have to do is just watch the show. If you want to go back later, you'll be able to go back and watch the show. But please follow us, please subscribe, and we will see you all tomorrow for another wonderful show.